Hello and welcome to Chat Shit Get Well episode 18. Today I'm here with Manny. We're having a little discussion about music and men's mental health. How are you today?
I'm good.
You good?
I'm vibey. It's Sunday and I'm like, the weekend's about to end.
Oh, don't think like that. It's still early.
Nah, you know what it is? But the way the weekend goes by so quick, I'm like, please slow down. But yeah, I'm good. Blessed to be alive and I'm well.
Well, last time I met you, it was a Sunday,
Yes.
and you had a little session in the photography studio. I had a really bad hangover, and it was an amazing hangover cure. I felt fully recharged by the end of that session.
Thank you.
Yeah, and your music really touched me. So I just feel like your music was very emotional. It was very like heartfelt, and I really want to know the story behind how you got into music. And we had a little discussion about how you use it as a way of like expressing yourself. And so how did it start for you? Were you a musician from a child or?
First of all, really, really appreciate the kind of words. Like for me, I'm like, I never even know how to take like kind of words sometimes. I'm like, I'm always want to like deflect it. I like praising, like bigging up other people, uplifting other people. But for me, when people like give me a lot of compliments in terms of my craft and my creative work, because I think as creators, there's either imposter syndrome or we feel we could do better. So yeah, I really, really appreciate your kind words. So music-wise, I actually never studied music. Music was never part of my journey back in school. So I went to school in St. Paul's. This was many years ago now. And initially my first introduction to music was like, I was in a screamo rock band. That was my thing. Heavy metal was my thing.
Wow.
Like no one actually knows, but some people do know. But like I just love going to a mosh pit. There's something about just like heavy metal, is just like chaotic, just rage and just that mosh pit. And it's just vibey. So a group of friends we were listening to, we always had similar taste in music, like heavy metal. We thought, let's join a band. So the band was going well. We had a couple of rehearsals, and at some point they were like, "Man, you never turned up to rehearsal." They all came together, had a meeting, and they were like, "Man, we've made a collective decision. We're gonna kick you out of the band." And I was so sad.
Oh no! Honestly, how old were you then?
I was like probably like 17.
Okay.
Yeah, I was so sad. But what's interesting though, most of the people that are in the band don't actually play music anymore. I'm the only one left from the band that plays music. But fast forward down the line, one of my good friends, George Carlacusha, was like, he at the point was doing acoustic soul music. And I was like, you know what, let's do something together. And he kind of gave me the opportunity to kind of explore my singing side. So eventually at some point he had to kind of go back home from Malawi. And it was almost the path of me trying to understand the importance of music in my life. And long story short, me and my family went through a very difficult life situation. And it's a situation whereby for a lot of people, it affected us even till adulthood. I'll try and like explain a bit. So like, I would say it's more of a situation that basically we couldn't work, we couldn't go to university. There was a lot of restrictions in terms of our existence in this country.
Right, so the immigration.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think as parents, sometimes when I reflect on my mum and dad, parents would always try their best to ensure kids are guarded away from certain difficult realities. But we didn't know how severe it was to, I guess we were about to go to university and then realised that we just didn't have the opportunity to go.
What's the reason for the restrictions? Because I don't understand.
Yeah,
how
of
that
course.
works,
Yeah. So I won't go too into detail in terms of my situation, but
Yeah.
restrictions can happen. Let's say if a person's regularized to stay, for instance, or if there's a lack of knowledge in terms of how the system works, and you're only going based on, let's say, advice from other people around you.
Right. Okay.
So that was kind of
paperwork.
Yeah, kind of issues, kind of similar to that. Yeah.
Okay.
And for a lot of people going in that position, when you're in that case, it's now trying to find ways to either regularize your stay or trying to find ways to ensure you have the right to stay. But the difficulty is if things have been breached, it becomes a lot difficult. And even though you spend a numerous amount of your years here, the expectation is to either leave voluntarily or just try and find ways to hopefully make an outcome out of it. But fast forward, it was... it was something that we never expected because so initially I'm from Nigeria. I guess with situations like this, I think people that have never been in that experience or perspective don't actually know that for a lot of people back home or there's probably a lack of opportunities, or maybe back home for a lot of people, the reason they're moving is because they want a better life for their kids or for their family. But people don't understand that as human beings, we're all connected. We're always trying to find a purpose in life, and regardless of whatever you identify as, your culture, there's a mutual connection of a shared human experience, but a lot of people are not willing to see that or put themselves in other people's shoes. So yeah, we never knew how severe it was till the point of when we were about to go to uni. And then our parents kind of shared a bit of insight into it.
Right.
But then that was the beginning of what was a very difficult life situation. I reflect on, I had none of my friends around because most of my friends had the opportunity to go. So I had no one. It was trying to meet, it was a journey of me trying to understand. I was very isolated for a long period of time. As a young boy, a young man growing up. And then again, even more difficult, a situation that then happened whereby there was then a restriction. My dad, he was kind of, I would say, to put it straightforward, he was kind of banned for something he didn't do again. And that made me question a lot. It made me question my faith because I'm coming from a Christian background. I start to question why things like this happen to good people, but then you realize that in life, there's ups and downs, but it's how you make the most of it. But yeah, fast forward down the line, for me as a teenager or teenage boy, I just did not know how to make sense of those feelings I had inside of me. The feeling of waking up every day for the past 5 years. So it's not like 1 year, 12 months is a long period of time, but for a good 5 years, not being able to find a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you yourself wasn't able to go work, go to university, and you sort of was in that limbo situation, I suppose, not knowing
exactly.
What's going to happen.
So I'm a twin. So me, myself, my younger sister, my twin sister. So two siblings, including myself, the whole family. So so we just didn't have the opportunity. But again, I think as kids, we did not know the severity of the situation. But I guess, down the line, it was, our parents were just, I guess maybe they wanted to almost kind of safeguard us from the troubles the reality that would come from that. But so I guess for me, it was eventual just trying to make sense of everything that was going on, trying to make sense of the fact that I had no friends around because, again, they had to live their own life as well. That they were excited to pursue their journeys and after leaving A-levels. And I think I always say to a lot of people, the last time I actually cried so deeply that I felt like my heart was being squashed was more that the reality of finding out that I couldn't go to university because I was going to pursue psychology. But again, at that point, music was never part of my reality. I never wanted to do music. It was just kind of hobby, playing with the band. And I remember this day very well. I still kind of visualize it. I was on my bed crying so heavily at a bleak reality. But fast forward down, I then picked up music as a way to make sense of my emotions. I would say to a lot of music is therapeutic to me. And when I play, I'm almost kind of transcending it in a different state, in a different element. But I was always listening to a lot more music that people talked about their struggles, their trials, and how they're able to express those feelings, those emotions through music. Because when I think about, in this day and age, about men's mental health, when I think about people trying to regulate their emotions, I 100% understand it. I've been in a case whereby life was just way too much, and I always remember trying to walk past. There's a bridge near Morrison's, near the train station. By the time, used to be B&Q over there. Because again, we had no money. So when I was even going to open mics, I always had to leave open mics early because I had to walk all the way from where we were staying. We used to stay in Shenley. I used to walk all the way to gigs, walk all the way to City. It took almost an hour and a bit. My legs were blistered, and it was a lot. It was a lot to take in. Even when it got to the third year of the difficulty, it was a lot to take in. And I couldn't take it anymore. And I just thought, you know what? Life isn't really worth existing. And I want to do, again, what a lot of people end up doing when things get difficult, just want to just give up on life, just want to end life. But for me, because I was very big on visualization and I knew that my mom had been through a lot and I could not put her through anymore.
Yeah.
I just had to, I always kind of, for me, before I act or make decisions, I always visualize what are the consequences to this action I'm going to take. So I was always reflecting the police, let's say, knocking on the door and saying my mom's name, so unfortunately your son has ended his life, and I could not put her through that. And I think that was what kept me going, but also music kept me going. So yeah, long story, that's how that was a lot, but I just realized that's how but it's, what is interesting though, I reflect on now as I'm a lot older and I reflect on the situation, those life events has made me who I am today. And although people might say they regret it, I don't think. It's interesting because I think my life would have taken a different trajectory if those things didn't happen. But it's mad. So I have a lot of sympathy for people going through that. I think about the amount of lost immigration case. Like, I think about the skill sets we develop, stuff like resilience. Because for a lot of people, when they go and get stuff, they just want to give up. Yeah. And I'm telling you, I'd say to a lot of people, the amount of times we've been rejected, and the amount of times I said, you know what, your time is up, just go. The amount of letters we get. It's interesting as well because I'm never a big fan of Christmas period. Right. My twin sisters always say, you're always kind of like negative about Christmas. I'm like, I think for me, maybe there's still a bit of a trauma reflection of what Christmas meant, because during Christmas period, there was always that lead up of waiting for an outcome. Right. To know whether we're going to stay. So January was always the point whereby we heard something.
So you're just filled with anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. And every time we reached January, it was always the case was successful, or you failed the case, you have to leave. It was hard. And then I reflect on times whereby we had to go to immigration camps. And so yeah, it's something that a lot of people don't really know about me. I think I don't
think that people know about anyone.
Yeah, that's true. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. Yeah. I think it's more, again, as well, growing up and come from an African background, it's the sign of weakness sometimes. It's a thing whereby we've always been taught that people could use that to their advantage. Yes. Use that against you as a weapon. But though I got to realize that if you own your sense of self, if you own your trauma, if you own your difficult life experience, and if people even try to question that, try to demean you, because you're willing to share or because you have ownership over the outcome and you've accepted it, they can't have dominion over you, or they can't supersede your sense of self, or they can't supersede...
you know yourself.
Yeah, exactly that. But it was a journey. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of answers.
I know. And you like what you're saying about the cultural thing as well. It's even more of a stigma for you to deal with, as well as all those challenges that you've had, and being able to accept yourself for yourself and your challenges and stuff like that, but then find a way to express that without it beating you down.
Exactly.
You know, we internalize a lot as well as human beings, and that's when bad things happen, and the suicides and the violence and all sorts of things that can happen. Yeah. So when was your first, you said you were doing the open mics for a couple of years when you were going through these struggles, and that was was this the soul music?
So it was, so it was, I guess I had to, first of all, in terms of playing open mic, it was trying to learn to not rely on others, because I used to play a lot with my friend George, and we did a lot of soul music. We used to be called Soul Kid back in the days. And because at some point I knew that if things happen, people tend to go their separate ways or want to venture on their own individual journey. So I then decided to learn guitar. So I used to listen to a lot of folk music and like artists like William Fitzsimmons or James Vincent Memorial. A lot of people are not aware of them. And City and Colour. And I then kind of learned the basics of this guitar. And then at some point, I then started like journaling my experiences, my lived reality of how I felt. And there's something about, I gravitate a lot to sad songs. But again, sad songs because when you've lived in or trauma state for a long period of time, or lived in a fast pace or survival mode for a long period of time, that's all you know. And that's all you can express and write about. But I was always trying to write songs that at the end of it was being hopeful for what the positive side of life would bring, even though we can't see it. Because even though people talk about the idea of faith, almost having belief in the things or the outcome that's unseen, but being resilient all the way through that, being consistent in your resilience all the way through that. And that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And even though I think about it right now, like the fact that we even survived for 5 years, like even more than that, because again, even till adulthood, we're still kind of going through that situation. Music has just always been there for me. So first of all, open mic I played was, I don't know if you remember Snowbar.
I do.
Yeah, I'm saying remember Snowbar.
Still there, yeah.
They're still there, but they used to do an open mic night every Sunday. I can't remember what it used to called, but it was so amazing. Every Sunday evening, a lot of people come.
I used to go there sometimes.
Oh,
yeah.
it was so vibey. And it was the first of all open mic I played on my own. I walked in, hands were shaking, guitar. I was horrible. It was terrible. I sound like a.
I'm sure it wasn't me.
I sound like a constipated donkey. It was just
more than likely just nerves, though, isn't it?
Yeah, probably nerves. Like I was like, no, I can't do this. It's just yeah. And I said to myself, I'm not going to play. I'm just going to give up music. But I always kind of gravitate back to music because music was more than just art, trying to be famous. Music more than just trying to impress people. It was just my therapy. It was a way for me to just make sense.
Find something for yourself.
Exactly.
Can I ask as well, how did you teach yourself guitar? I mean, did you teach yourself guitar?
Yeah, I kind of did. Okay. So a few people taught me the basics, and I just went online and I just used to spend all day on the internet just playing it because that's all I could do.
Yeah. Because this is when you were going through the struggles.
Exactly. I think about it right now, so it's funny, I'm saying this because I reflect on lockdown, and lockdown didn't really faze me because again, I've been in a state of, in isolation for 5 years. So all I did was wake up every morning, like laid in my bed, just watched like music stuff, like guitar, and just like learn guitar. And again, I think about support systems. I think about people like from my church, friends. One of my best friends, Sam, that I think about so much, and they were very helpful in terms of kind of supporting us through the struggles, and even come to shows and kind of because they knew the difficulties. But even with like going to those shows, I could never express or tell about how the reason behind the songs. Even like me sitting down right now, I'm like, should I said that? Because again, I've been used to not sharing this reality. But I'm a believer of just being transparent. Again,
I think as well, it just takes the first person to speak out about things. And then you soon find other people who feel more comfortable about talking about
you're 100% right. I think, you're 100% right. I think it's just more also I reflect to my family, and like, again, just because we've always been told not to share our struggles. Because some people, if they share the struggles, people are attention seeking.
Manipulate them.
There's so many ways around it. So
I think that's a horrible stigma as well.
I agree.
The whole attention seeking thing. It is awful because it does make you feel like you're not able to ever share any emotion because that fear of being judged.
Exactly.
And I always say on my social media, like I share all my positive things and stuff. And I always take time to say, it's not because it's positive all the time. You've got to realise social media is only showing the best bits. But if I was to sit on here and cry and tell you I was sat in my bedroom yesterday crying all day, you'd call me attention. You'd have that attention seeker. Or she's doing, no one's going to film themselves crying and put that on social media.
And I definitely, but
it's important to share the sadness as well as the triumphs.
I think a lot of people feel uncomfortable with sadness. Or a lot of people feel uncomfortable with the idea of grief. A lot of people don't even know how to be receptive to the idea of someone they've seen, or whether it's through the lens of a phone or in reality, they don't know how to respond to that. I'm definitely for a lot of people sharing their emotion. And for me, even how I use social media is very different. Because I remember a few people that I know always tend to say, your social media, you share a lot of things, whether it's not just music, along your personal side to you. I'm like, because I want people to see every facet of me. And I feel like with social media, it's easy for people just to share the positive sides. But then because there's a lack of acceptance of the negative sides, that's why a lot of people are reluctant, because they think, people see the side of me, they might follow me. People see that, they might not like me. And
it's about acceptance, ultimately, isn't it?
And it's then realizing as well, my dad, always says, like, still says today that it's about also gravitating to like-minded people. Because I was very confused within society in terms of the struggles and why people don't uplift each other, and whether it's even questioning my faith. Because I surround myself with so many different people from different cultures, from different groups, from different sexual orientations, and like, because I believe in human connection. I think human connection is amazing. I think by having dialogue and conversation with people that you don't normally think you would have, or you're not aware about, or you don't even know much about, it will aid your insight to even cultivate the habit of empathy. I feel there's a lot of people that have whether views of discrimination against other people that they don't know because
100%.
And it makes no sense to me. I'm like,
lack of education. Lack
exactly.
Of
it's like you've never had a conversation with that person. I always kind of think about even think about the likes of Pinks, like when people used to go on nights of Pink, and people are like, I don't want to go because I'm like, but wait, first of all, your reason's so invalid because first of all, who makes you think a person that identifies as this is going to be into you? First of all, who makes you? Where did you get this right? They're going to make a move onto you. You've never spoken to them, never had a conversation with them. You don't even know they kind of, you don't know, so you're just concluding based on what you've heard, rather than your own lived experience. Human beings just fascinate me.
We are strange things. I think as you grow older, for me, definitely, I grew up with certain restraints in my family and certain ideas that were obviously put into my head as a child.
Exactly,
And then you grow up and you have these ideas of what these people are.
Yeah.
And then as you start to grow as a human, for me, I'm very open. Same as you, I'm mixing different circles now. But me in my 20s was a completely different person, and I still had those ideas in my head.
Yeah.
If I'd have never branched out and met those people, I'd still have those ideas now.
No, I agree.
And that would make my life very narrow and make my life very uncomfortable, to be quite honest, because having that sort of having that fear against communities and stuff, it's not a nice feeling to live with.
Yeah.
It's not nice to be in a room with someone and feel uncomfortable because of an idea that you have that you've never actually explored.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right about, I think I understand in terms of how to navigate life. Initially, childhood plays a massive part in terms of how our upbringing, how parents nurture us as well. Because before we even go out within society, our understanding of what life is bestowed on us, like based from what our parents have taught us and what the information they provided. And reality is, if it's negative or if it's not as open or broad, and if it's demeaning to other people, we are going to go within society and think, oh, but my parents taught me this, it must be true. And we always see parents as like, we always put parents on pedestals, but I would say this so I have a lot of my friends right now that, like, again, the parents, they share the struggles, because again, another thing that people don't tend to share, and I try to encourage a lot of my friends to, like, it's fine to share your struggles. People also kind of make sometimes parenting as if it's easy, but I have a lot of friends that are like, it's difficult. You lose your sense of self, first of all. There's a amount of sacrifice. Your friendship circle change. And I said to a lot of my friends, like one of my good friends, Daniel, I'll say, like, bro, our friendship is built on the foundation of love. And I get like we're all on a different path or a different journey right now, but we're always still going to be there for each other. So, like, don't worry the fact that we haven't met or caught up. I understand the difficulty and reality of being a parent.
So important.
And it's very important. But back, kind of taking it back to the point, like, what you said is so right, because if you're taught something negative within your home, as people tend to say, charity begins at home, you are going to go out within society. And if you then recognize certain things that you've been told that this is what the reality is, you're going to take upon what you've been taught, even if it's negative, and think it's the truth or things the reality. And it's sad. I think I always try to encourage a lot of people to self-reflect and think about, like, it's fine to go against the grain if something does not align with your values, and if someone's trying to realize what is my value in life, and if your value is aligned with positivity, why should you then not be inclusive to ensure positivity or love or appreciation and kindness goes out to every single person within society? There should not be no one to be left out to the scope of positivity. But a lot of people that are very, like, limited to, I'm kind, but only a set amount of people. I'm like, but is that truly the understanding of kindness? Yeah.
So your expression in your music obviously has details of your struggles and your message. And what's your you got an album coming out soon, or?
The journey of music. Do you know what it is? Music, I got a love-hate relation with music because it's transitioned a lot from it initially being therapy for me. Like gym and music are my babies. They're like I can't, they're my safe base. But with music, because I was very predominantly just playing live for a very long time, and as years went by, opportunities were happening. So I remember the first ever like recorded track I did was signed to a label, Defected. Worked with a guy called Tim Lawson, incredible producer from Milton Keynes. He's incredible guy. And it was my first kind of introduction to what labels are. But then because of not having some sort of guidance or let's say management or a soundboard to kind of provide advice, things didn't really plan out the way I wish it did. And then I was trying to record my own stuff, but then I was very reluctant because I did not know who to trust, because sometimes you hear so much stories about, you can't really be certain someone has your best interest at heart.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with music. Mm-hmm. Again, you hear about horror stories whereby people, let's say, sign a label deal and they don't really receive any financial benefit or revenues in terms of streams or royalties. It's really sad. So yeah,
it's a lot of not paperwork. What's the word I'm trying to think of? Like the legal stuff. And the thing is, as an artist, you just want to perform and you want to get your message out there. So all of this background stuff, and you're like, oh my god, this is a headache. Do I even want to? Like, am I going to sign these contracts? Do I want to do it? And as you were saying, when you're using your music as your therapy, I suppose it's difficult to transition from performing because you want to or performing because you have to.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, I even kind of still struggle in the studio because when I play with emotion. I don't really think I just sing what my heart or my soul or the depths of my soul, from the depths of my soul. But then knowing that I didn't have to go to the studio and then things have to perfect or they have to be set in standard, set in structure, they have to captivate. Even with social media nowadays, it's hard for musicians to thrive. Yeah. Like, again, you need a certain amount of followers, you need to send them out of streams for even labels or even A&Rs to pay interest to you. And it's easy for a lot of people to start losing hope in this craft and this skill because, like, there's been a amount of time people are like, you're incredible. I'm like, but I don't know how I feel about myself because, again, like, I've been playing music for a long period of time, but I feel like there hasn't been any progress made.
Right.
But even though people are like, but yeah,
there definitely has.
There has been progress, but I'm like, And or even like when it's so crazy to me, I always kind of think about big name artists that will reach out saying like, we've heard your stuff, you're incredible, blah, blah, blah. And like, so I'm massive on drum and bass, like Liquid, and drum and bass is my absolute vibe. And one of my friends, he's incredible, he's doing bits now, a guy called Vibe Chemistry, like even gave me the opportunity to sing on this track, and that track did well. And from that, other opportunities started coming through. And it's easy to get your hopes high. And think, this means wonder's going to happen, but it never does, and they kind of beat yourself down again. And I have up and down moments with music in general, because as each passing year goes by, I'm still in the same phase. I look over musicians around me that I love, I'm like, they're doing this, they're doing that. Again, that's the thing about comparison with social media. And it's
I think you've got to remember as well, a lot of people know how to look like they're doing very well.
100%.
And most of the game is faking it until you make it.
Exactly.
So yeah, I know what you mean. I've got the same, thing where I sort of, you judge yourself against others, but you've just got to look where you start to where you are.
Yeah, it's a journey. Yeah,
it's definitely a journey. So you're still performing, like I've seen you doing like weddings and like stuff like that.
Yes.
But it must be hard. Like as you were saying earlier, I was just thinking like, so for singing at that moment where you can feel that, feel it from the soul and you're expressing yourself, like you say, to then have to go and redo that in a scripted way in a studio sort of thing. You're saying like getting every single point perfect. Yeah, that must be really difficult because it's almost like you're like repeating an emotion.
Exactly
on script, like on a script.
Yeah, it's like you almost have to. Yeah, at will, almost bring out that emotion that again might, it might not really come from authentic place when you're trying to repeat that.
I've never really thought about it until you just said it. Then I was thinking, I can see why that would be a struggle.
But I think what is important is having the right people around you. So I give a lot of praise. Every single time I talk music-wise, I always have to bring up the name Don Perry and the likes of Serena. So they're my people. Like, we've been on this journey for a long period of time. So he kind of has a recording company called Tape Line. He started with a guy called Elderbrook. They're very good friends. And it's interesting because it's easy for a lot of people to say, you've been working together as a collective, me, Dom and Serena for a long period of time, but like no progress has been made. But it's because we all believe in the same vision of like, so I'm big on collaborations. I'm big on like a sense of community, unity. And so all the other musicians that within Milton Keynes I've seen growing from a long period of time, because my even introduction to music, I used to play at a place called a Buzzy back in the days, and then the Point used to have like youth service, and I used to kind of help even teach young children how to make music. So I'm kind of thinking about my journey right now. I'm like, I did that. I just a couple of things I just remembered. So having someone like Dom and Serena around, because studio sessions are always so creative, because when I'm in the booth and I'm about to sing, Dom's like, okay, man, imagine this, imagine that. So he's able to almost conjure that feeling. If a take doesn't sound right, because we've known each other and been working with each other for a long period of time, he knows how to get those emotions out to get the right take. And it's always amazing. And I guess for me, my dream hopefully is that one day we can all thrive and then create a space for other people, other up-and-coming musicians, whether within Milton Keynes. Because Milton Keynes is like the abundance of talent in Milton Keynes, but a lot of people are not aware of that. And I feel there's always a disconnect with Milton Keynes, that there's a lot of people doing very similar things, but there's always this energy of one person wants to thrive alone.
Working against.
Exactly. One person wants to thrive alone, or one person wants to be the best of the best of Milton Keynes. But I'm like, if you're all doing the same thing, come together. We can actually create something wonderful that allows other creatives as well. Whatever field you're in is by almost kind of aligning a sense of mindset, aligning together to see, okay, how can we all benefit together? Put our egos aside and we can all thrive. And that's something I strongly believe in. But one thing I struggle with, because I was at a social gathering like a while ago, and they were talking about what people's toxic traits are, or the things they struggle with. And I thought to myself, for me, I really struggle with people reciprocating. That's what a big thing I struggle with. Because I believe strongly in kindness and trying to support everyone. But however, there's sometimes with people whereby you're willing to be there for them, being supportive for them, but vice versa, they're not willing to give you that same energy. And they are now caught in this crossroad whether, I'm going to mirror the energy, do the same thing back, but if it doesn't align with your value, should I just like not be nice to them again? And if that's not part of you, do you? Yeah, it's
I think we all have those battles though in everyday life with people. You know, some people just don't mirror our goodness, and that's quite. It's just we have to accept them for what they are. And
exactly,
move
it's
away
hard.
From that.
You're 100%. It's hard.
It's never a reflection on you. It's always a reflection on what they're going through and stuff. And they've obviously not. I think when you've been through a lot of trauma as well, as I have as well, I feel like you are more open to accepting people for their faults. Yeah. So you're so much more, you don't cut people off as quickly because you understand that fault may come from a trauma response, and they haven't healed. So you're like always trying to find the good. Those people, you have to just sort of accept them for what they are and just, move on for your journey. They're not the right person for you.
Exactly. The way I was about to flip the script and then start asking, I was like, because I was about to say, because something that I'm always curious about when people talk about trauma and healing. Do you think like a person will always heal from the trauma, or if healing is stagnant or just like you're healed and that's it? Or is it ever forever changing? Yeah,
I think it's ongoing. And I've spoken to a lot of people in the wellness industry and people that work with trauma victims that have gone through similar things. And you look at them and I say, are you healed? Like, do you think you can heal? Like, do you think you can heal from an unhealed place? Do you think whilst you're still healing? She said, I'm still, like, these people I'm still healing. Yeah. But you would look at them and think, wow, they've got everything, they're sorted, you know, and these people are helping others. Yeah. But they're still healing every day.
No, you're 100% right. Because I think even online, it's easy for people to have this misconception that healing is this one thing when you're repaired, that's it. No, and even like when people even talk about even dating, they will say, people need to fully heal first before they, let's say, maybe open their heart out for another partner. But I definitely think healing's a continuous process. But
everyone's got their different stages of healing, and their different traumas, their different experiences. And I definitely wasn't healed when I got in my relationship. And I'm still healing now. It's just finding the right person that's going to help you through that journey. 100%, that's compatible, understanding. Yeah, because even the way I think about healing as well, when I train a lot at the gym, I always remember that sometimes, let's say I have an injury for my knee, for instance, I know that the functionality of my knee or certain things I used to squat back in the days or cleans I used to do, I can't do anymore because I've got an injury. I'll then have to learn to adapt and get used to it. So again, it's learning to adapt with those changes, those behavioral changes, but then also a sense of awareness of, okay, if I did this, it will lead to that. If I did this, so almost like a reflection how to then accommodate or getting used to that change that's happened. And but a lot of people are like, might be just shut off. I'm like, nah. Or they're not even willing to reflect on that deep state, because the reality is having a deep sense of consciousness or self-reflection is hard. A self-awareness of one's emotions is difficult, because for a lot of people, reviews are dark states within them that they just don't know how to handle. Yeah. And almost kind of seeing a reflection of, this is who I really am, can be scary for a lot of people. So I get why a lot of people try to avoid or deviate away from trying to none of us want to accept our faults. And
yeah, of course. Accountability is hard.
I hate it. Accountability is hard. I think, oh no, why did I do that? Like, why am I thinking about that? And then you end up deep in yourself, and then you come out of it and you're like, okay, that needed to happen. Like, that needed to be there, because now I understand why I do these things, why I react this way. Going through. Do you have therapy, or have you had therapy, or
so one of my friends, Abby, was talking about wanting to explore the idea of going therapy. It's something I've thought about, but I'm always kind of curious not saying that there isn't benefits, there 100% is benefits, but because I've developed a way to regulate my emotions, I'm as open as I can be. I'm very aware, like, again, like my siblings, like, I share a lot with my sisters, like, we're very close. People I meet, like, I share a lot with them in terms of, I try not to hide how I'm feeling. Even most of my guy friends. But that
is therapy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's actually crazy you should say that, because I didn't even think about it. Yes, I thought about it that way, but I think when people think about therapy, they always think about
going to a counselor
or professional. I think I also studied psychology. So when life kind of took its turn and things got a lot better, it took so things got better roughly around 2015.
Okay.
So 2010 was when I kind of left. We're about to leave sixth form, and on top of that, a lot happened. Like, we experienced homelessness. I'm telling you, life was it was a lot. Homelessness happened. My friend Sam says it's not homelessness, but I was like, bro, we got kicked out. We didn't have a home to stay.
Yeah.
So I used to like sleep around different people's like sofas. One of my friend Rich used to record music at the time. Like, his parents were so kind. I used to like stay around theirs. My friend Sam as well.
Yeah, I mean, not having. I've been homeless as a child. We were actually squatting in a puppy for a time. Yeah. And I just remember the fear that was there, and never knowing where we're going to be from one moment to the next. Never having roots. Yeah. And always knowing that fear of someone's going to come and you know, we're going to get kicked out of this house that we shouldn't be in.
Exactly.
So I understand that anxiety and not having that grounding from an early age. It has a massive effect when you go through adulthood. Yeah. But childhood has a lot to answer for.
It's crazy.
The thing is, one thing I will say is, like, obviously when you start talking, like right now, and what you're saying, you speak to your sisters and stuff like that, it's therapy. And when people like you and me talk about these experiences, you'll be shocked to know how much people have had similar situations. It might not be all the situations.
100%. This is what I'm saying. This is why I say to a lot of people.
It's so good to be open and honest.
We all, as I look at the different social issues within life, and I think we really can coexist together by just having a sense of empathy and having conversation with people we don't know much about.
Yeah.
Rather than assume the worst, just sit down and have an honest conversation. But the difficulty with conversation is the skill of listening. I think listening is so hard. It's something that I try to learn during lockdown, because sometimes having conversation, even like debates or contrasting opinions, we want to have our own word, or we're like, but I'm like, we're really listening though. So to be able to actively listening is a difficult skill. But I think one thing I really, through my course of life and my struggles and my journey, because at some point, I thank my mom so much because she recognized the effects our life situations having on us. Now, I think even again, I think about people that are saying, growing up having your dad around, and when he was banned, but my dad, I always say my dad's my hero, because men have stigma in terms of not being, again, whether his father's not being present, but my dad was still fathering from afar. My dad till date calls my mom every single morning, like they pray together, they have conversations together, make sure like everyone in the house. And my dad's all talking about, yes, even though you have your own individual vision, as a family, if one person falls down, we need to put our stuff aside and ensure collectively the unit is strong. So I always say my dad's a hero, because again, some men get a bad stigma for not being present. They assume, if not that, this kid's gonna have a trauma. And I'm like, yes, there's reality, and there's a lot of people that might blame the fact that the parents are not around and that, or the difficulties, which I agree so much can have an impact. But then we are almost kind of left in this decision as individuals. Yes, this has happened, but what is our next step forward? We have a decision, either just sit in that sorrow for a long period of time, which is difficult to kind of uplift ourselves, or we realize that our situation should not define who we are.
Yeah,
100% should not. And I think volunteering did that for me. So I used to volunteer, because my mom was like, you know what, I could see the effects having on you. Take up volunteering. So I used to volunteer with kids with disability.
Oh, nice.
And I honestly, most life-changing ever. And being in their space, and I saw that despite the defects of disability they had, they always found happiness. And that made me realize, wow, like some of them couldn't walk, some of them couldn't see, and they were still happy in the smallest of things.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, there's happiness in dark places. We just need to look a lot closer. But yeah.
You just need to look for it and be grateful. And
100%. 100%. I just realized my story is so disconnected. I'm like,
you were volunteering during your, we call it the struggle
period.
The struggle period. And obviously, at that time, I think that's such a good thing that your mom did for you, to get you in that space, to have you socialise and experience in different, like you said, different people, like different stories and different realities to yours that might have even been more struggle and sort of seeing a different perspective. So that was when you started to do the music, and then you started, obviously, I think one thing I was going to ask you, do you cry?
I cry a lot more in terms of movies.
Okay.
I have emotional moments. Last time I cried a bit was, I lost, recently, I lost two friends. One friend passed away. I'll get into that in a bit, but
I'm sorry to hear
2 weeks ago now, thank you. Another friend a few months ago. Last time I actually cried properly was at his funeral. I think I was alright. I'm very good at processing these things. I reflected in it, but it was more when we got to the church and they were showing video clips of him.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, then tears started falling. So most of my cry are like little films, or I cry at happy moments. So I used to work I used to work at Sainsbury's in Shanley Church End, and when I see human kindness or someone doing things that are nice, let's say help someone cross the road, I'm a big fan of animals, or I see a little cute dog. I have like little emotion. I just like kind gestures.
Yeah.
I just like little kind gestures of human kindness. I have a lot like little happy moment, like, oh nice. That's good. Yeah. So I do. I'm very, I'm not like massive. Like, I don't remember last time last time I did was when I was a lot younger. But most times little tears fall, and then that's it. I'm like, So
do you think that, the music allows you to have that as a female, I cry quite a lot and I need it. Sometimes I'm like, I need to cry. I cannot regulate my emotions and I'll have a good cry and then I'm like, oh, thank God that's out. But for men, they don't cry. So to have that outlet, I'm like, my partner, he goes to the gym, like, so that's one of his emotional outlets. He'll go and have a really heavy session. He'll come back a different person. But, you know, I mean, you train as well. Do you find music sort of helps you have that space where you can just...
music. I think like I love dancing as well. Music and dancing. Yeah, because actually when first met your partner was at the gym. Because I was by the weight section, listened to probably drum and bass, heavy metal. I can't remember what it was, and I was just dancing, forgot everyone else around.
He does that too.
And then he walked up to me, was like, "This is crazy. I do the same thing." I was like, "Wait, what?" And then that's how we kind of like got to know each other, and then we spoke about life. But yeah, dancing, music, I think it's just when things are stress, I could just go there and just like forget the world. However, I've come to realize sometimes there are certain situations that they don't help. And I realized that I might just try alternatives. So again, I'm a big fan of films. So I love going to cinema. It's something it's my downtime. Cinema is a big thing I do. If music doesn't work, cinema is a thing I do. Or just sit in my emotion. Just like understand what I'm feeling. And when I'm ready, I'll get out of it. And I think one thing I learned during lockdown is a way to process one's emotion is sometimes take your time. I think a lot of people are too quick on like, oh, you could get better, like just shake it off. I'm like, nah, sometimes just be in that state, just sit in the mud and just sit in there for a long period of time. And when you're ready, you rise up again. But for a lot of people, it spirals too hard. And I say this because like recently I'm quite conflicted because 2 weeks ago now, probably a week ago, a friend of mine, he was found at Willing Lake. And it was, a lot of people heard about that. And the saddest part was, although when they said this, they were like a 31-year-old man was found. I was like, but I guess to people that knew him, he was more than just a 31-year-old man. And so long story short, he took his own life. And it was very difficult for me to... I thought it would take me a lot longer to process the reality of everything. But I think with things around grief, I'm just used to it now. That it's a process of life. But more that we should learn to celebrate and realize that we were privileged to have known those people.
Yeah.
It was a blessing for them to come into our life and we shared moments with them and ensure their memories live on. But I'm also conflicted because as friends, we tried everything to... encourage them to share, but I know some people, they're not going to be willing to share. I always encourage them to check in on them, and I was like, bro, let's catch up. But again, he wasn't willing to. But then you don't want to be too, you don't want to come on too strong on people. You want to give them the space. So when I heard about the reality of what happened, I thought I could have done a lot more. But then most of my other friends were like, you tried everything possible. And he was always one of those people. I was always one of those people that cared a lot more about other people's feelings, but always tried to deviate away from how it felt. And let's say so it's mad because when I found out what happened a couple of days before the Sunday before, because he was found on the Monday. So the Sunday before, he messaged the group saying about want to play FIFA, talk about football, but no one would have had a clue at all what it was going through. They hide it
so well, yeah.
No one would have had a clue. And he was a great teacher. Like, he loves kids. He was so inspirational. And even the post of a lot of people saying the impact it had. And he had all these dreams, ambition. But I also recognize as someone that's been in that state that even though there's positive moments within your life, nothing else matters when you're in that darkness. Like, life just does not feel worthy enough for you to exist. And I just kind of feel like I wish I was just there to give him a hug and just like, be like, bro, we're here for you. But it just left me kind of thinking, yes, people encourage people to check in on each other, but I'm like, it's checking in more than enough. Especially if a person's not willing to be open, if they're not willing to be receptive, what else can you do as an individual? If that's a decision they've made, do we just respect it or just... So I'm in conflict of that one, but
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important to have so much more information and awareness and groups and, you know, having the conversations we're having now about reaching out and being able to and finding ways to express your emotions, because there's not enough education on regulating emotions for men particularly.
Yeah.
And that might, you know, we can't say that we could have you could have changed anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But moving, you know, forwards in sort of protecting others from getting into that dark place is making sure there's enough education and enough conversations about it. And I know you have mentioned you've been to like the man cave before, and like there's more like men's in Milton Keynes, Bedford and Northamptonshire now. Sort of having like a hangout for guys to just go and have a chat.
Great. Like,
and not in a professional setting where you're sat there and going, right, tell me about your childhood, or tell me what's, you know, you're just sitting there having a chat and knowing that there's a space there for support. And there's a lot more going on now, and it's unfortunate that happened. It is really sad.
Yeah, it really is, because I did try to encourage them to even come to Man Cave, because I think it's easy for people not to realize as well that there's other people in the same situation as them. So if you're in a space whereby you're hearing stories similar to you, you're like, oh, someone gets me.
Yeah,
I'm being seen. I'm not alone in this. But yeah, and it's a shame, but it's one of those ones that I'm just grateful for. As I said, grateful for the fact that he was a great friend. He was an awesome guy. But I think it's also changed the dynamics of the rest of my friendship group, in terms of trying to ensure this doesn't happen again to anyone as well, even anyone else around us. And it's something that for me for a very long time, because I've been in an experience like that and I understand it, my mindset in terms of, or my approach in terms of helping people in life is very intentional to ensure that no one should ever feel alone. No one should ever feel isolated. And it's difficult.
It's crazy difficult that we live in a world where we're so connected through social media now. It's never been easier for us to be connected to another person, but yet we're so disconnected.
Of course, 100%. Even the way I use social media is very different from a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing that needs to be educated actually in schools and things like that, to understand that it's not reality. And how you use it is going to affect yourself.
100%. So like for me with social media, like if anyone follows me, I always take upon myself to thank them and appreciate them for the follow, because even kind of build a small rapport. Because again, it's easy for people to follow them, but you don't know anything about that person. You don't know the context of their life, don't know what they're going through. Even if they share something about, let's say, a difficult situation, for me, I always be like, my thoughts with you. I've never had a conversation with that person properly, but at least that way they know that, again, someone cares. So, definitely the way we use social media is very important. But again, it goes back to the point that for a lot of people, they feel uncomfortable seeing someone share the sad side, or they don't want to feel like a burden on top of someone. But education is very important. But I think also in line with application, I think we can be given information about certain things. So I studied psychology, and one thing I love about psychology, so psychology, it's more, the traditional psychology side of psychology always looks more at fixing human issues, human trauma, or defects or psychosis, whatever a person's going through, whether it's depression or anxiety, and either through following route medication maybe, or therapy or counselling. However, the other side of psychology, which I gravitate a lot more to, is the positive side of psychology that looks at utilising human traits, whether it's like resilience, gratitude, but traits that are within us, but then nurturing them, and in time of difficulties, we can then use them at will to then kind of benefit us. So like a perfect example would be, resilience is a great one. Let's say like firefighters, for example, they're going to miss the danger. They can easily give up knowing their life is at risk, but because they're will having the mindset to be resilient enough to know, okay, I have to keep going on. Or a person going through a difficult situation, like resilience for me, like when we're going through a difficult situation for that whole 5 years, we could have just packed it in, given up. But then have that reason of thinking, I have to keep going, be consistent as well. Those skill sets are important. Gym as well, because I'm sure like you're big on fitness. Like when you started compared to like years ago.
I'm looking at the sign like I was big on fitness.
I don't know anymore. But then, think about when you first started.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
You
could have
your
easily
goal
given
is
up.
to get on stage and compete. And there's many times I dropped out, and there's many times I had to go back to it and keep myself.
Yeah, but what kept you going
Yeah,
though? But
resilience.
Exactly. So I think those are the traits that a lot of people. I think positive psychology is something that a lot of people don't lean a lot more to. They always go to the traditional side of thinking medication will fix this or this will fix it. But
this is what this whole show's about, actually. My whole show is trying to get an outlook that gives you a different approach to medication. And medication has its place, 100%.
Of course, yeah.
But, holistic, alternative, things we can do ourselves, ways in which we can improve ourselves without.
100%. And fitness is I try to...
Hugest.
Fitness is a big one. Fitness is a big one, but I get it's difficult. I think anything in life that's difficult is because we're not used to that process.
Anything that's difficult is going to always teach you a lesson. And you're going to have a lesson and you're going to achieve and you're going to feel better. And you're like, even a state of, I have friends and stuff that actually have anxiety to the point where they can't leave the house. And just, having that first step of going to the end of the garden, having that first step of walking around, to the shops, having those small, tiny steps and every day making that resilience, using that resilience to push yourself further. You're taking a step further every single time. But yeah, I mean, my fitness journey was I was competing, this, and this. Yeah. My fitness journey is now for I do train still every day for my mental health, and I enjoy training and that sort of thing. But my challenges are different now. My challenges are now, my career is my new challenge, so that is me building up and pushing myself further in just different aspects constantly.
I love that,
yeah, change it up, switch it up. Fitness is definitely a massive part of my journey, massive. And that's that fitness got me off medication.
I love that. And I heard I can relate so well with the fitness thing. Like I'm always consistently at the gym. Like it's a lifestyle for me now. Yeah. A lot of people that don't go gym, like, but why are you always there? Like I'm telling you, it's more than just the physical. Yeah, like it is. Yeah, when you work out to a point whereby the thoughts in your head are almost you don't think, like you're just focused in the moment in terms of the difficulty of like trying to improve.
It's mindfulness. It's meditation.
Exactly that. Yeah. Exactly that. And now, I love the again the scope of you and the benefit in terms of the approach to this, and obviously having this. I'm truly grateful to be in the setting, and even like what this stands for is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I need to. We're nearly done an hour now.
Oh, raw.
Yeah. Anything else you want to cover in this?
Anything else I want to cover? The only thing I ever want to cover is just I just want to big up my mumsy like quickly. I think like mumsy and just family, because I think about, because a friend of mine the other day said something so kind to me, and he said put in a group chat about someone he knows at work like came up to him and was like, oh yeah, you know Manny? I was like, oh, and he was like, oh, I just want to say he's incredible, blah, blah, blah. Because for me, again, I'm not really the greatest to take compliments, and he put in a group chat saying, Manny truly is a kind soul, because like I'm really proud of him. And even though most like standing group chat like with guys, they make jokes, oh yeah, I bet he's doing this for setting me out. But then, which I kind of laughed about, but I always kind of think about it in terms of the idea of coexisting together as human beings, whether it's male or female, or just, again, whatever people identify as, because my mom has always shown to me that sometimes we don't always have to follow social construct. Even that there, because she was playing the role of the mom and the dad at the same time, and really taught me that, again, women could do greatness. They're wonderful. They're like, and for me, I have a lot of women friends around me that I always have to uplift. Even people have this idea, men and women come friend. I'm like, it's because, again, you guys, again, have not put yourself in an experience whereby, again, you don't see women beyond a certain point in your, or you have platonic relationships, or again, where it's like role models that are women that obviously have almost kind of instilled those values within you to realize the potential, again, women can be. And I always kind of think that my mom has been a hero, a blessing to kind of navigate that again. Again, all my female friends as well, vice versa. But all
the women in the world.
Exactly that. Big them up. But yeah, I just want to say, grateful for this conversation. Grateful to be here.
That's all right. Thank you so much for coming in. I was going to ask as well, have you ever lived in Birmingham?
No.
You've got a Brummy little accent. I don't know what's going on.
So my accents are a mix of everything. So we used to live, I grew up in London initially, was school in Sidcup, and then lived in Rochdale. Oh, okay. So it's a Manny. Is that Manny side? Yeah. Lived in Rochdale.
Because there's mom and but,
Honestly,
A little
it's,
bit
and then
of
obviously twang of like obviously being Nigerian as
Nigerian,
well.
you got the
My
twang,
accent's
the
just
twang.
all over the place.
Yeah.
So when I at
Nice
work,
little mixture, though.
when I used to work, people are like, "Where's your accent from?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, it's just a mess.
It's a combo.
It's a
just
mess.
Manny. That's all it is. It's just me.
It's
my
mess.
own thing.
But yeah, it's a mess, definitely. Yeah.
Now, I just heard a couple of on the butt and the mum thing. I was like, sounds a little bit brunt, but yeah, Manny, it's up north, innit? Yeah.
Not Birmingham.
Well, thank you so much for today. And I'll post Manny's socials underneath the YouTube video. So if anyone wants to give him a follow and book him for any events, have a look at his stuff, then you can just click underneath the podcast.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.